For all of those of you guys that are connecting to Facebook, again, we have an amazing call today with Dr. Jen. We're going to be talking about specific SNPs, and I'm covering for Craig Smith. So bear with me because it's so difficult to fill those shoes that Craig, he's an amazing host for this kind of webinars and calls, but I'm very doing this with a lot of pleasure because it's always a privilege and an honor to introduce Dr. Jen Myers. So I'm going to share screen, Dr. Jen, and so you can get started, and I'll turn the microphone to you. Just 1 second. There it is.
Awesome, everyone. I hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. What do we get to talk about today? Actually, we're going to go over some of these SNPs, of course. We've been talking about lifestyle choices and things to implement into your daily life besides your amazing nutritional supplementations that you're getting here with Euphoria. Not that we don't think that we are doing quite well, but we also want to make sure that it's known to everybody that it's not just one thing, right? There's so many different components and aspects that are brought into our overall health and wellness that it's important to understand what all these mean and some things that we can do to help support our nutrition and the supplementation that we're taking. So without further ado, let's talk about detoxification, shall we? First off, I kind of want to go, and Jorge, thanks for bringing this up. I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit. What are some things, I have a lot of patients that ask me, how do I know when I need to detox? What do I feel? And that's a great question, right? Because we don't sometimes really know. So here's some things that I tell people: when you feel like this or have a combination of these things, we probably need to talk about detoxification a little bit. Of course, I'm looking at their genetics and their variants, and I can kind of tell how their body does and does not detox. But you know what? Everything could be working just fine. Those genetics could be turned off at this time, or they could be turned on, right? So we need to see how it's affecting somebody in their daily life. So some things that I tell people to look for is watch that insatiable sweet tooth, right? If you are craving sweets all the time, probably need to detox, right? So this is like a here's your sign kind of thing. That means there's an overgrowth of bacteria in the gut and not the good stuff that we want. So we do tend to crave sweets because that's how they stay alive, right? So sweet cravings, that's one of them. Digestive issues, that's something else. Of course, as we know, there's a lot of stuff that goes through our system that needs to be put out in so many different organs, and our gut is a huge one, right? Colon and all that is a big deal. So any kind of constipation, diarrhea, yeah, we don't mind talking about poop here, gas, bloating, distension, all of that stuff is actually not normal. We should have a very normal bowel movement and normal functioning of our gastrointestinal system. So that can be an indicator that you need to detox. Allergies, right? So your sinuses are like an extension of your digestive system. Okay, so there's no longer just a seasonal allergy episode, right? So this can happen all the time throughout the year. So we want to make sure that if we're having any problems with allergies, sinusitis, anything like that, it's our body's way of trying to push things out. So we may need to detox. If you just don't feel healthy, how many people have said in their life, I eat right, I exercise, I'm doing everything that I can, but I just don't feel healthy. I've been there, I've done that. So I understand. You're trying everything, but you still don't feel healthy. There's another sign. So skin problems, right? Acne, we all know that when we see these teenagers with acne on their face, I can guarantee, not always, but for the most part, they probably don't eat very well, and usually I'm right. Rashes, things like that, hives, those can all indicate that it's time to detox. Our skin is the largest organ in our body, and guess what? When we detox, things come through our skin, right? So if we start to see all these different skin irritants, acne, things like that, we probably need to detox. Always exhausted, not just because you didn't sleep well, or because you've got a lot going on and you're working and you didn't sleep well. You just are always tired throughout the entire day. You just feel sluggish and like you're dragging yourself. That's a sign that something's going on. You shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't be constantly fatigued. Brain fog, right? So I just don't feel as crystal clear as I would like. I'm forgetting words and where did I put my keys and all these things. That's not normal either. We want to perform at our utmost level. That's physically and mentally. So achy joints, right? So if you ever have any issues where my joints are achy and stiff, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I just feel like I need to move, but everything's sore. That can be a sign that you need to detox as well. Can't shed those excess pounds, right? I try everything to lose weight and I just can't do it. Being able to detoxify is a healthy way to get rid of waste. And if we don't do that, we can store it and have an issue with weight gain. It's not the only thing. Again, these things can mean all kinds of different things. I'm just talking specifically about detoxification, of course, today. Hormones are whacked, right? So if our hormones are whacked out, that could mean a sign that we need to detox as well. Breath and body odor aren't so fresh. You ever have that person that, and it's not mean, it happens to my patients all the time, and they're speaking, and I know as soon as I hear them, or well, not hear them, but smell them talk, that sounds so bad, that they need to detox. So we're people who, when they don't even need to sweat, it's just like this natural, they just don't smell so great. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's a sign that they're full of toxins. We all know that person, right? And it's kind of tough to tell them, hey, you need to detox. Sleep patterns are way off. You just can't sleep right. You're sleeping during the day, not sleeping well at night. Those can be signs of needing to detox. Feeling anxious or depressed, right? So there's this big gut-brain correlation. So we need to make sure that the gut's healthy and clean, and we have all of our cells are healthy and alive and vibrant, and then we don't really feel depressed or anxious all the time, okay? This isn't including life events that can happen to us. Cold sores. Believe it or not, cold sores are an indication that somebody needs to detox. It has a lot to do with their gut health. Whenever we have a compromised or a weakened immune system, viruses tend to want to have a party. And unfortunately, they do it on your face. So cold sores are another indication that something's going on in the gut. We probably need to talk detoxification. So how do we address this, right? So with euphoria, of course, we're looking at these genetic variants that influence our master detoxifier of all of our cells, right? So glutathione. Glutathione helps, it's something we produce naturally, helps us detoxify. We're talking about cellular cleanse, okay? Not necessarily colon cleanse or anything like that. It'll help that, but we're talking down to the cellular level. So we're looking at glutathione production and how our SNPs and our variants affect how much glutathione our body produces, okay? So this helps us naturally detoxify. So glutathione, of course, is this molecule in our body, right? It's produced by the liver. Glutathione is actually made up of 3 different amino acids. So we have L-cysteine, glycine, and L-glutamate. Okay, so these are all things that help us naturally detoxify. Amino acids are super important when it comes to especially our DNA and our genetics. Glutathione actually offers these antioxidant effects. Super, super, super important enzyme, amino acid, all these things that need to be working properly. So let's go to our first SNP now, please, Jorge, if you don't mind, thank you. And that's the EPHX1, right? This is liver detoxification from substances and is eliminated due to this SNP. This SNP helps our liver detoxify from these industrial carcinogens, from toxins, from chemicals, from things that our body doesn't recognize as normal that we could be introduced to that we need to eliminate. So this protects the liver, actually. It protects our energy levels, our appetite, our skin, and actually our ability to react to stress as well. So this SNP is extremely important, and it's part of our detoxification pathway that we use here in Euphoria with your Healthy Aging panel. The next one being our SOD2 variant or SNP, right? So SOD2, Jorge, I'm having you go on to the next one for me. Has a lot to do with, believe it or not, detoxification, yes, but also mitochondria, right? So SOD2 is mitochondrial superoxide dismutase 2. That's what that means. This SNP actually clears toxins from our mitochondrial reactive oxygen species, or ROS. I don't know if you've ever seen this terminology before, but it protects our mitochondria from damage and from cell death. Mitochondria is, we all know how important I think mitochondria is. I don't think I need to talk about that, but if we don't keep our mitochondria healthy and active and young and constantly evolving and changing, this bacteria will actually start to die off, per se. I always say mitochondria, we're just like this petri dish for our mitochondria. So if our mitochondria starts to die off, that's when we start to age faster. That's when all this reactive oxygen and all these inflammatory conditions start to happen, right? So oxidative stress increases. And next thing you know, we're dealing with chronic disease. We're aging faster than we want to, and our bodies can't push out all these toxins. Our mitochondria actually helps us get rid of toxins. How cool is that, right? And this SNP actually helps do so. In research, they actually show that this variant, the SOD2, is actually linked to most chronic disease. That's huge. And here we are being able to look at that through Euphoria. So the next one, of course, is the GSTP1 SNP. This is actually one of my favorites. I don't think it's taken as seriously as it should be, right? So high concentration levels of this enzyme are actually found in things like our skin, the liver, sinuses, lungs, GI tract, and even our bladder, because these are all important organs and parts of our body that help us detoxify and push out toxins, right? So this can cause an increased inflammatory activity in all of those areas and all of those organs. Think about that, right? So it can, kind of lead us to these chronic diseases such as sinusitis, leaky gut, eczema, asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, and even interstitial cystitis, which is something that happens to the bladder, right? So these are all things that it can actually be due to not being able to detoxify well. We can start to see these chronic illnesses and diseases start to form. And these SNPs are super important because their job is to help the body do what it's supposed to do to keep us healthy. We know we're self-healing mechanisms, and if we have these variants and these weaknesses in these areas, we just need to go support it so the body remembers, that's right, this is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I want to go on to the next slide to talk a little bit about oxidative stress, right? Because sometimes when I say it, I don't, not everybody knows what that means. So let's talk about that again. Of course, there's a great image here. You've got a normal cell in the middle, or right here on the left. In the middle, this is what happens when the free radicals start attacking the cells. And then cells with oxidative stress, the cell actually starts to become damaged and actually can die, right? And it can damage our DNA. So that's something that we want to try to avoid, of course, at all costs. Oxidative stress is essentially kind of this imbalance between the production of free radicals and the ability for the body to kind of counteract or detoxify their harmful effects through these antioxidants, right? These natural antioxidants that our body produces and things that we're going to put into the body to help support healthy, normal cells. So when these concentrated levels of this ROS, or this reactive oxygen species, is not controlled by what we call our internal defense mechanisms, and that's these antioxidants, right? Glutathione, vitamin C, those are two big ones. Or these enzymes that are involved in oxygen radical scavenging, right? The guys that go after and eat up these free radicals. And that is our superoxide dismutase, right? So that has to do with this SNP or this variant. Our body goes in there and says, I need to get rid of this stuff. So let's start eating it up. But when it doesn't do what it's supposed to do, oxidative damage actually occurs, and it affects our proteins, our lipids, our DNA, right? So this could lead to things like cytotoxicity, which is cell damage and even death. Genotoxicity, right, which is DNA damage. That's not good. We don't want that. And even the carcinogenesis of damaged mutated cells. And that, of course, can lead to cancer. And we don't, if anything, we don't want that. So if we can avoid that and we can look into these genetic variants and these SNPs, and we can, influence how our bodies react to these things that we're exposed to every day, imagine how we can help decrease these chronic diseases that we're facing. Okay, so kind of want to go into what are some of the major sources of free radicals, right? So 1 second, sorry. I don't want you guys to sit here and watch me drink water. I swear it's water, but I had to. So some of the major sources of free radicals, right? So what can these include? So this is even just our ordinary body functioning, right? Such as breathing and digestion. That's where a lot of free radicals are introduced. is through our lungs and through the foods that we eat and the things that we put in our mouths, right? So a lot of breathing and digestion, right? So any exposure to radiation, that could mean radiation due to, and chemotherapy due to cancers, radiation due to, cell phones and cell phone towers and all these different electronic devices that we rely on. And that's the unfortunate part, that we rely on it. But if we can keep our body and the ability to detox active, then we can hopefully lessen the risk and the influence that this has on our bodies. Consumption of cigarettes. Okay. I don't have to say it again. I say it every time. Don't smoke. Don't vape. Smells like cotton candy. That's great, but don't do it. You know what I mean? Tobacco, like chewing tobacco. Gross. Don't do that either. Alcohol, of course, can cause our bodies, because it affects our liver, right? Which our liver is our major detoxification organ. Certain medications. So there's a lot of medications that can, kind of cause or be a source of, I should say, free radicals, including high uses of antibiotics. That strips the good guys too, right? So we don't want to have to be on antibiotics all the time. This can actually lead and has led to antibiotic resistance in this country. If we're resistant to these antibiotics when we actually need them, what the hell are we going to do? So if we can avoid taking antibiotics unless we absolutely need them, then that's actually super, super duper important, and especially when it comes to our kids. So pay attention to when your doctor or pediatrician says, we just need to put them on, they have a runny nose, let's put them on antibiotic. See if we can try other things first, of course. A diet. So diet can actually house free radicals. And these are foods that are included with, let's see, unhealthy fats, too much sugar, pesticides, herbicides, synthetic additives, processed, refined foods that actually contain the kind of like this oxidized fat. And they add free radicals to the body. That's not good. So excessive amounts of sugar, of sweeteners, they're actually growing or help growing the free radicals in our body and can contribute to things like aging, weight gain, inflammation, chronic disease. Food is really important, as we've learned and we know, which I'm super happy that people are actually starting to understand that now. That's why we're having this conversation. Too much exercise. Even too much or excessive exercise can generate free radicals. Exercise is great. We all know that. I love that. However, there is an excessive point, as with everything. So in moderation, high amounts of physical or emotional stress. Stress kills, right? We know that. So these stress hormones like cortisol, when there's too much cortisol in the body, it can actually influence free radicals and oxidative stress, and it can make us sick, imbalance our hormones, all sorts of things go haywire. So what are some of the best ways to fight free radical damage, right? So I have patients, well, what do I do about it? Well, we know, take your nutrition. Yay. That's one thing that you guys have an advantage on to a lot of people, is that you understand now what your variants say and how your body reacts, and how there's maybe a slight hiccup in being able to produce enough glutathione for your body to efficiently detoxify. So you're actually taking in these important ingredients that help your body do so. But there's lifestyle things that you can incorporate as well that will help. Start eating more foods rich in antioxidants, right? So choose organic. Of course, I know some people say, but it's so expensive. Well, health may cost a lot of money, but sickness costs a hell of a lot more. So eating organic is super important, especially if there's either no skin or very thin skin on any kind of fruits or vegetables. That's when you absolutely want to make sure that your product is organic. So think about colors, right? Green, blue, red, purple, those are great colors for antioxidants. Fruits and vegetables, such as, I go with the first and foremost that kids always hate, broccoli, right? Broccoli's great. And of course, put that grass-fed butter on it for some butyric acid to really help the neurotransmitters in the gut. Kale, spinach, greens, asparagus, any of those things. Who doesn't love some fresh collard greens? That's one of my favorite things. Okay, asparagus, as we know when we eat asparagus, within 5 minutes we've eaten asparagus. That's because it's helping us detoxify. That's why that happens. Okay, so other things like fruits, right? So goji berries. Goji berries are great for you. They're great for your eyes. They're great for a great antioxidant. Cranberries, elderberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. Berries are really high in antioxidants. Of course, you kind of want to watch how much fruit you do eat. Goji berries doesn't really do this as much, But some of these other fruits can, of course, spike our insulin. And we want to make sure that if we're dealing with any blood sugar problems or just in general, we don't want to eat too much fruit. So I always tell everybody 1 cup per day is probably more than enough. As for vegetables, eat as many as you want, especially those green ones. I'm not talking potatoes. I'm talking about the green leafy ones, right? The ones that little kids look at and shrug their nose up at. You can always also use your powdered greens, right? So I've formulated some powdered greens for people who just literally can't eat vegetables. They're like, I've tried everything. I can't do it. What do I do? So we've made greens, powdered greens, put that into some water or a smoothie and drink that. And that's another way to get your greens in and to have those phytonutrients, those polyphenols, those antioxidants to help support a healthy detoxification system. Guess what else you guys can eat? This is probably the best thing I'm going to say. Cacao, dark chocolate, right? Dark chocolate, who doesn't love? Some people don't love it. I love dark chocolate. So dark chocolate, actually, you want to make sure you're at about 65% or higher. And of course, find your good quality dark chocolate. Don't go for Hershey's. Nothing against Hershey's, but they don't have the best kind. Don't overindulge, of course. So 1 to 2 squares per day is plenty. That's kind of my after dinner treat, is a square or 2 of dark chocolate. I do have my favorites, and I can tell you guys about that another time, but having dark chocolate, that's a great antioxidant, okay? Herbs and spices, right? So that's another good way to get antioxidants in. Having those fresh herbs and those fresh spices, spice it up, put it on your food, right? Turmeric, rosemary, cinnamon, oregano, basil, ginger, those are all great antioxidants and anti-inflammatory type spices, right? So they can boost the immune system. And here's where that drink that I was telling you guys about can come into play. You know, put it in some water with some apple cider vinegar and some lemon and drink a shot of this every morning. You're gonna feel something from it. Absolutely, you're gonna get some energy. Don't be afraid to use fresh herbs and spices in your food. Grow them, grow fresh herbs and spices. It's so neat to see that. Another thing that's in our nutritional supplementation, actually with nutrition, is the white tea, right? So white teas, even green teas, those are great antioxidants. Those are in your pre-nutrition and your base, the white tea is. So that's good to know. We're putting these antioxidants that have been very well studied to help support these genetic variants. Avoid toxin and kind of pollutant exposures, right? That's another thing. So avoiding these environmental pollutants, it's tough, right? You can't avoid them all, but if you can make sure that your water is filtered. Fluoride is a big one, guys. You want to try to stay away from that. What about green teas? I did say green tea, actually, green and white tea. Very good for you. These environmental toxins, pollutants, birth control that's in our water, believe it or not, yes, antibiotics, all these things that are in there, filter your water or buy filtered water. It's going to be better for you. Reducing these chemical exposures in our household products, right? Cosmetic products. Us women want to be beautiful, but of course, if we can find, and there are products out there that do have less environmental toxins in them, and they're just more natural, and you can look naturally beautiful, women. It can happen, I promise. Purchasing these things, right, that are made from essential oils or even from, like I said, more of a natural source. Avoiding the overuse or overdosing, of course, of medication and antibiotics. If you don't have to take the antibiotic, don't do so. If the doctor says it's necessary, then of course I don't ever tell you not to listen to your doctor. Just challenge them a little and make sure that it's something that you actually really need. Make sure you take your probiotic when you're doing that, and you're eating lots of antioxidants as well. Try reducing stress in your life. Sounds so much easier said than done. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But making sure that you're doing things like meditation, yoga, exercise, going on long walks, grounding yourself, getting out in nature, that's going to help reduce your stress levels, hopefully, reduce your cortisol levels, help support your hormones, and help support these genetic variants to be able to do their job and help you detoxify properly. Exercise, of course, moderate amount. Don't go overworking yourself. Exhaustion, mental fatigue, burnout, all these can cause the immune system and body more damage. Making sure that you're at a healthy weight level, just by eating right, doing the things you need to do, make sure your hormones, everything is in check. Healthy weight management is a good way to help the body be able to reduce these as well. normalizing blood sugars and insulin levels, making sure our cholesterol levels are all normal to prevent diabetes, heart problems, and also kind of our blood pressure, right? So all these things can create oxidative stress and free radicals, and then the body has a hard time being able to detoxify from other things that it's exposed to. And I'm going to say this one, rid toxic people in your life. Oh my goodness. These people can actually damage your DNA, not just your mental, how you feel and your physical being, but they can damage your DNA. Toxic people cause you to stress out, and they cause you to not feel like yourself. And then your body has a hard time being able to do what it's supposed to do. So surround yourself with people who lift you up, who make you feel good. Get rid of the ones who don't, okay? Some other modalities that we can do to help our bodies naturally detoxify, besides what, some of the things that I just talked about, of course, taking your nutrition, hyperbarics. Hyperbarics is a great way to detoxify ourselves and enhance our mitochondrial production with that SOD2 SNP and everything else. Infrared sauna. In fact, I'm hoping I can squeeze my sauna session in today. I know Ryan over at Inside Out Hyperbarics is listening to me, so I'll be over there later to get my infrared sauna session in, right? To detox, to help pull all this stuff through the largest organ in our bodies, which is our skin. So some of the benefits, I should say, that I kind of want to go about of antioxidants and enhancing our glutathione production. What does it do? What's this going to do for me overall, right? Besides affecting my DNA in a healthy way, what am I going to feel from this? It's going to slow the progression and the effects of aging. That's a big thing, right? It's going to reduce these free radical damages and damage that can cause DNA damage as well. So the aging process isn't going to stop, but we want to age more gracefully. So it's going to slow down that enhanced amount of aging. Think about the people who smoke and drink a lot. Do they have a lot of wrinkles? Kind of in an early age, if they're out in the sun a lot and they're partying a lot, do they look older than they should? Absolutely, right? So it's going to help reduce the effects of aging, even on the skin, of course, as we just said, prevent or decrease the risk of cancers. That's what it's going to help do. Antioxidants, that's their job, is to get rid of carcinogens, can help improve cognitive decline, things like dementia and Alzheimer's disease, which from Western medicine, there's not a lot that can be done about that. So if we can be preventative and proactive, that's huge. So some of the tests that I have my patients get done to look at their detoxification system and how well, besides of course genetics, that's my first line of defense. Metabolic testing, of course, looking at their GGT levels. This is a liver enzyme that creates glutathione. So if I can measure that in their blood, I can see if their body's trying to detoxify from something or if they don't produce enough and I need to go in and support it. Doing a complete metabolic panel, looking at their liver functions, of course, and kidney functions, making sure that your body's able and your organs are healthy enough to detoxify. Microbiome testing, so we want to see the health of the gut, of course. That's a big component as well. Heavy metal testing. I use urine testing for that, but you can use blood as well, but checking to see if they've been exposed to any kind of heavy metals or molds even. That's a big contributing factor. If we have these things kind of in our bloodstream and in our body, then it can't really fight off everything else that we're exposed to. So checking those things is important. Another thing that I tell patients, I know we're coming close on time. I said I have so much for this, and I do. Considering IV therapy pre and post anesthesia. Going to blow your mind here, right? So when we get this anesthesia, what does it do? It crosses the blood-brain barrier because it affects how our central nervous system works. That's what it's supposed to do. But if we can go in and do an IV, on all my patients, we do IV glutathione and high-dose vitamin C pre and post anesthesia. Get that stuff out of your system. Some of us have a hard time, I'm one of them, clearing anesthesia, and you feel worse from that than you did the actual procedure itself. So if you don't have the strong genetic variants to be able to do that, you want to be able to help your body do so. Of course, eat organic, avoid the pesticides and herbicides, really important. Eat those high antioxidant foods, filter your water, wash those industrial toxins and carcinogens as much as possible. Try to use household products with less chemicals, cosmetics, things like that, lotions that don't have a lot of toxicity. Bed and Bath, Body Works, whatever it is, Victoria's Secret, it smells beautiful, right? But it's so bad for your body. There's so many chemicals in there. Try to reduce your overall stress, exercise in moderation. And I think that's all I wanted to cover with 1 minute to spare. Yay! In other words, guys, detoxification is extremely important when we have these hindrances with these genetic variants to where our body doesn't do it as efficiently as it should. We want to support it, and we want to support it not only with our nutrition, of course, but also with the healthy lifestyle choices. So with that said, Jorge, I think I did it. Fred would be so proud.
You did it again, Dr. Jen. Thank you so much. We were taking lots of notes, and there is one specific note that has I highlighted and then underlined and everything that is eat more dark chocolate. So I love that one.
Chocolate.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jen, again, for your generosity, sharing all this information. We had very big audiences, both in Zoom and then also on Facebook. And I'm sure this video is going to be shared. Somebody was asking on the chat, how can we replay this video? Remember, subscribe or follow our Facebook page, which is Euphoria Science. And right there, you will find this to replay and to actually share with your contacts. Next week, same channel, same day, another Lunchtime Science with Dr. Jen Myers. And for the next week, Dr. Jen, would you like to tease a little bit about what we're going to be talking about?
Just a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about heart health. Let's talk about cardiovascular support. That's a huge thing. Let's talk about that.
That's going to be a very, very good one, very interesting one. So until then, guys, thank you very much for connecting. Share this link with people that you want this information to get to. And thank you again, Dr. Jen. Again, you're always awesome sharing all this information in a way that we can understand. So really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a wonderful Wednesday.
Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.